All right, today we are diving deep into one of the biggest health puzzles of our time, obesity. We're going to crack the code, looking at how diet, training, and some pretty powerful pharmacology all fit together. Let's get into it. And let's just start with the stakes, because they are incredibly high. A high BMI was a factor in 4 million deaths globally. This isn't just a statistic, it's a massive health crisis, which makes figuring this out more urgent than ever. So that leads us right here. If obesity is this incredibly complex puzzle with pieces of genetics, our environment, and our own behavior, how in the world do we solve it? Well, the answer isn't just one thing. It's about putting the right pieces together, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, first up, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What is the challenge we're actually up against? What is obesity? So the official definition from the World Health Organization is pretty clear. It's when you have an excessive amount of body fat that can actually be harmful to your health. And the benchmark they use is a body mass index, or BMI, of 30 or more. But honestly, that definition is just the tip of the iceberg. The real problem with obesity is its incredible ripple effect. Think of it as a gateway condition. It opens the door and dramatically jacks up the risk for so many other serious diseases. We're talking type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, even some kinds of cancer. The impact is huge, and it affects the entire body. So how do we start to fight back? Well, we start with the absolute foundation, our first pillar, diet. This is the bedrock of any strategy that's going to work. And look, let's cut through all the noise you hear online. Here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter if you're doing keto or paleo or whatever the diet of the week is. Fat loss is driven by one thing, a sustained energy deficit. You have to burn more energy than you take in. It's literally a law of physics, and our bodies have to follow the rules. Building right on top of that foundation is pillar number 2, exercise. And I'm telling you, its job is so much more important than just burning a few calories. The real magic of exercise in this whole equation is its ability to basically reboot your entire metabolism. It's like a full system upgrade for your body. It makes you more sensitive to insulin, helps your body use fuel more efficiently, and just kicks off this cascade of amazing hormonal changes. Now, when we talk about cardio, you've basically got 2 main roads you can go down. There's the traditional route, what we call MICT. Think of a long, steady jog. And then there's HIIT, or high-intensity interval training, which is all about these short, explosive, all-out efforts. So the question is, does one actually work better? Well, the data is pretty striking. One huge analysis found that HIIT was almost twice as good at improving VO2 max. Now, VO2 max is basically a measure of how good your body's engine is. It's a huge marker for overall health. And HIIT just seems to send a much stronger signal to your body to get better, faster. And that brings us to our third pillar, and this is where modern medicine really steps in with some powerful tools. Pharmacology. Now, these can be absolute game changers, but they have their own rulebook and their own risks. So to get how these drugs work, you gotta understand their journey through the body. It's called pharmacokinetics. First, the drug gets absorbed into your system. Then it's distributed all over. After that, your body metabolizes it, breaks it down, and finally, it gets rid of what's left. Every single drug follows this basic path. And the toolbox we have today is pretty wild. You have drugs that literally block your body from absorbing fat. You have others, like the GLP-1s, that mimic your natural hormones to make you feel full. Then there are drugs that work directly on the brain to shut down appetite. And finally, you get into hormone therapies that can actually change your body composition. And this is where things can get really serious. This quote here points to something fascinating and, frankly, pretty dangerous. It's a cycle called polypharmacy. Researchers have found that instead of stopping a drug that's causing problems, a user will often just add another drug to deal with the side effects. It creates this complex, risky chemical cocktail inside their body. And listen, the consequences aren't just physical. Pushing hormone levels to these unnaturally high or supraphysiological levels can have a massive impact on the brain. We're talking about everything from losing impulse control and aggression to serious anxiety, depression, body image issues, and full-blown dependency. So we know these things have powerful effects. But how can we actually see what's happening? Well, the evidence is right there in your blood. These tools don't just change how you look or feel. They leave a clear, measurable signature. Let's start with what normal looks like. This is a standard blood panel. See all those numbers for red blood cells? They're right in the healthy range. This is our baseline. This is what we want. Now, let's see what happens when we start adding things to the mix. Okay, now watch this. The data on the left shows that as testosterone levels go up, so does the concentration of red blood cells. What that does is it literally makes your blood thicker. It's a condition called erythrocytosis, and thicker blood dramatically raises the risk of getting dangerous blood clots. Not good. All right, let's switch gears to cholesterol. This is a real lipid panel, and one number should jump out at you immediately. The HDL, that's your good cholesterol, is at 32. That is way, way too low. It's a massive red flag for heart disease. So you have to ask, what could cause that? And this study gives us a perfect, crystal clear answer. The blue line is the group that got a placebo. Nothing happened to their good cholesterol. But look at that yellow line. That's the group taking a steroid called stanozolol. You see an immediate and drastic nosedive in their HDL. It just shows you how some of these compounds can absolutely wreck your cardiovascular health markers. So after looking at diet, exercise, pharmacology, and the hard evidence in the blood work, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's that none of these pillars, not one of them, can solve this puzzle all by itself. Real, long-term success only comes from an integrated, holistic strategy. It means you have to combine those foundational lifestyle changes, the diet and the exercise, with smart, targeted medical support when it's necessary. And the whole thing has to be tailored specifically to you. And all of this leaves us with a really big question for the future. As our medical and pharmacological tools get more and more powerful, how do we strike the right balance? How do we balance these incredible medical interventions with our own personal responsibility for building a healthier future? It's something we're all going to have to think about.